Welcome to Base Vision Inside Security Episode 8. Today we are talking about something which is really awesome. It's that the Intune Suite capabilities coming to M365 licenses. Today with me is Lucas. He's a part of our consulting team and working every day in endpoint management projects and with Intune. So we want to elaborate a little bit more about that. Can you a little bit explain what features are part of the Intune Suite?
Of course, let's go into it. There are a lot of useful features in Intune Suite. We prepared a list. Part of Intune Suite is, for example, EPM to control your application, the elevations of the applications. Then the enterprise app management to deploy those applications. The advanced analytics to see insights of your devices within your organizations. Remote help to connect to these devices. Microsoft Tunnel, for example, to connect to your on-premise applications. Microsoft Cloud PKI to deploy your certificates to your devices. And last but not least, firmware over-the-air update and specialty device management to manage every device within your organization and to deploy firmware updates to them.
So that's a very cool addition. I think now we heard just a few terms of what is in. We saw on which operating system it's available, but we should get a little bit more information about the specific topic. Can you talk a little bit more about where endpoint privilege management can support customers? What is the use case? Where can they use them?
Of course, endpoint privilege management supports your zero trust journey. You can basically decide for which application it's possible to elevate it with administrative permissions. How to elevate that? So do you have to provide, for example, Windows Hello for Business as a verification? Or do you have to mention a business justification to elevate those applications? Like that, you basically have the freedom as an IT administrator or Intune administrator to decide exactly which applications can be elevated and which one can't. So like that, you have the full control over your zero trust journey. You have implemented the least privilege access, and that's a pretty nice thing, I would say.
So that's, in that case, really helpful, especially if you have legacy software, legacy applications which require administrative privileges, or if you have field workers which need from time to install something. Are that use cases where you could leverage it?
Yes, exactly. And nowadays, since the last releases, it's also possible to elevate in the current user context. So it's also very useful for developers now because they have access to their Visual Studio libraries and everything in their user context. You don't have to find any other way to make that available. So pretty comprehensive. And on top of that, APM provides also dashboards to see the elevations, to exactly to create rules based on the support approved elevations. So pretty nice thing, pretty nice addition for your Intune environment, I would say.
So very cool. Let's talk now about the second thing, enterprise apps. What does enterprise apps mean at the end? Can you explain this a little bit more?
At the end, it is pretty simple. So you deploy applications with Intune, but you don't have to package them yourself anymore. So you have a catalog provided by Microsoft. You can just choose the application you want to deploy. It pulls the image from a Microsoft repository or the application. Everything is filled in, and you can deploy it or assign it to your devices. Also with the update management situation, it's easier because they update themselves, or you can decide to update an application within the app overview in Intune.
So that's then a very cool addition to patch third-party apps. You had also advanced analytics on the list. What are the benefits of advanced analytics? What can I imagine there? Can I build my own reports, or is it what can I have out of this?
So yeah, I'm sure you all know the reporting feature in Intune. Advanced Analytics is basically the same, but with much more data and with some AI enriched recommendations. So let's say you have some devices that always need to boot a little bit longer. Then you will see that in Endpoint Analytics. You see how many devices, why they could have this issue. Or if you have a lot of devices, out of all the devices, for example, then you would get notifications that, for example, the battery life is not as good anymore. And based on that, you can proactively order new devices or repair them, or which is a benefit for the user because you basically see something happening before it happens in the eyes of the user.
And what is the device timeline, what I just saw?
The device timeline, you see on the device timeline, you see the different events on the timeline. So what exactly happened when, if the device had a boot issue, if the device was slow in booting, if the device had any other kind of issue, you will see it on the timeline, and it's like that. It's easier to have an overview of the whole situation.
That is cool. But what is about the other feature, remote help, which was next on the list? How does that behave currently? I mean, there are a lot of other competitor tools available on the market. So can we already use that?
Of course, but it depends on the platform. So you can use it on Windows, Mac OS, and Android. On Android, on special devices from Zebra and Samsung. And speaking about Windows, it is very advanced because you can leverage all the features of Intune and Microsoft Cloud. So you can leverage conditional access, RBAC. It supports enrolled and unmanaged Windows devices, and it's pretty handy for your support because they get notifications if a device, for example, is not compliant. Speaking about macOS, it's pretty handy there as well, so you can leverage all the features as well. And on Android, it's pretty useful for the specialty devices because sometimes if they don't run, you can connect to them and you can fix the problem on the device itself.
So it's something to definitely look on if you are in a Windows environment, but we don't know what the future brings. So definitely something to know. And then a topic which you talked about was deploying certificates. When do we need to deploy certificates? What are normal cases where we use certificates?
For example, if you want to connect to your corporate Wi-Fi, it's pretty useful to have a certificate. Otherwise, it doesn't work in most of the cases unless you have a pre-shared key, which is not very enterprise specific. Especially the Cloud PKI is especially useful for Entra ID joint devices, like we all leverage today already, because with the current PKI infrastructure, it's difficult to realize the whole thing because you don't have an AD Active Directory object anymore. So with Cloud PKI, you have the full feature set integrated into Intune. You don't need the Active Directory computer object anymore. And it's pretty easy and secure, very secure to deploy a certificate to your Intune devices now.
So no longer nearly unmanaged PKI infrastructures in enterprise environments in that case.
Exactly. Now you have a fully secured enterprise PKI infrastructure managed by Microsoft, especially and designed for your purpose to deploy certificates for your Intune devices.
Cool. And then we had also special devices. What is covered with special devices?
Special devices, for example, if you have a hand scanner to scan certain codes for your frontline workers, those devices need to get updated as well. So far you had the possibility to use third-party tools, But with Intune Suite, it's also possible to deploy firmware over-the-air updates to those devices. So you just have to connect, in that example, the Zebra devices with a connector, and after that, it's possible to update them with Intune.
So quite cool, all these new things what we get with these additions to Microsoft 365, and I think you should now think about how or which of these functionality can help you. And we as Space Vision, we are dealing with such projects every day. We have experience with it. So if you have any questions to it, you can always reach out to us. And I hope this session helped you, gave you a little bit of input regarding how you could leverage the Intune Suite or now the specific Intune components more in your environment. Thank you, Lucas.
Thank you very much, Thomas.